So sample problem number 1. A layer of oil have a refractive index of 1.47, floats on water of refractive index 1.33. A ray is incident from the air at an angle of 50 degrees to the normal. So what is the angle of refraction? Letter A, on the air-oil interface, and letter B, on the oil-water interface. First, let's illustrate this one for us to easily understand what is going on this problem. Okay, let's create a 3-layer of medium. This is for the air, oil, and lastly, water. So, an incident ray coming from the air strikes in between the air and oil that was refracted. So, let's create first a normal, refracted, and also this incident ray will be refracted also from oil to water. So, the normal. Then in here, we can now create the angle of incident and angle of refraction of air and water and oil, So this is the angle of incident of air, which has a value of 50 degrees. And the angle of refraction here in oil. Another, we can now have here the angle of incident coming from the oil, and it will now create an angle of refraction in the water. So there. Okay, we can now identify the given for this problem. So first is the index of refraction in air, which has a value of 1.0003. Next is the index of refraction of oil, which has a value of 1.47. Next is the index of refraction of water, 1.33. And the angle of incidence from the air, which has a value of 50 degrees. Let's now identify the unknown. So we can now solve for the angle of refraction on the air-oil interface. We can now denote this one as angle 2. So oil. Next is we can now solve also for the angle of refraction on the oil-water interface. So we can now have the angle 3, water. So there. For our formula, let's derive the formula. Since we are dealing with the angle of refraction, so we use the index of refraction of air times the sine angle 1 or angle of incidence is equivalent to the index of refraction of oil times the sine angle 2 or the angle of refraction. Since we are dealing with the angle of refraction, we can now divide both sides by index of refraction of oil times the sine. So divide both sides. So let's now cancel. So for our formula for the angle of refraction in oil is equivalent to sine raised to -1 times index of refraction of the air times the sine angle of incidence divided by the index of refraction of oil. This is for our oil or interference or interface of air and oil. How about for the interface of oil and water? So we can now change the subscript 2 as 3 na kasi we are now solving for the water, the angle of refraction in water. And also, we can now change this one as the index of refraction of oil. So, N2 na siya and the angle of incident in oil. So, there.